when I had this God-given opportunity to be elected president of the bank, I sat down and I said to myself, when we had structural adjustment in Africa, the women saved the continent. The traders saved the continent. 75% of our trade is done by all these women. I said, no, as African Development Bank, we must do something big for women. So I'm very big on that. So we launched what's called the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, AFAWA, which is to leverage $3 billion for businesses of women on the continent, the largest ever in the history of this country. President Macron of France is a good friend, and he was very helpful when he invited me to the Biarritz for the G7 summit. He helped to organize and reached out to all the G7 leaders, and collectively they put up over $351 million that will help us to set up a risk-sharing facility that will reduce the risk of lending by banks to women businesses. And now we have over $411 million. Now, how does it work? So we are working now with Africa Guarantee Fund, and they are they're setting up facilities with banks. So when a bank lends to women businesses, we will cover any loss up to 75% of that loss. But I know the women are not going to default because 98% of the women pay back their loans. The men are the ones that don't pay back their loans, you know. And so the women are bankable. Yes. And so the reason the banks aren't lending to them is not because they're not bankable. It's because of bias. Because the data doesn't add up. You're asking them for collateral. You know, in Africa, they don't own the land. Why are you asking them for that? So anyway, we are putting our money behind them, and we are supporting them. We have set up we're supporting another fund that's called the Alethea Fund, which is actually done jointly by a South African and a Nigerian, which is supporting the private equity fund, which we've capitalized to help them to capitalize, to raise more money to support growth businesses of women. So it's connecting the little one, the micro side, the small, to the medium, and the large. In other words, we want successful business of women all across the chain are helping each other. And it's going to be so transformational. That's what we are doing, but to be quite honest, it came from my experience on the plane.
On the plane too. Wow.